Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne Williams with Back to Earth Creations, and in this video I want to show you guys some different variations on dragon scale on leather. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring the camera down to give you guys a better view of what's going on here. Now there are just infinite possibilities for what you can do with leather. Here you can see I actually went through using, oh, I already put it away, this tool, which is an end punch, to very lightly, as you can see here on this other piece, I just took it and hammered it, ever so lightly, because this really will just chop right through the leather very easily. But just enough to leave in like a nice little imprint. And then I went through with my swivel knife, this thing, and cut into the lines that made it much deeper and more pronounced. And then I went through with a textured beveling tool, this thing here, and you can see the difference between beveled, not beveled. So it has a really nice kind of effect, and I think I'm actually going to go through as well and do a little bit of shaping and contouring with a smooth pear shader. Like, I can actually show you guys that now, that detailing that might happen. So there you can see, just a little bit more how it kind of scoops it up and in. And then you can even take a spoon tool and kind of smooth it out just a little bit more. Almost like you're sculpting clay, just a little. And so that gets a really nice kind of gradual progression, and that shows up really well too whenever you're staining. So this is probably has the most potential for unique shaping, because you could actually go through and instead of using the end punch, you could go through and just hand draw on with like a scratching awl, or even like just a graphite or charcoal pencil, and just kind of very lightly, do whatever shaping of however you want the scales, and then go through and do the cutting and tooling and beveling and different things. Next we have, I guess we'll go ahead and leave it down like that. Here are some of the most simplistic, like straightforward, dragon scale tooling that a person can do. There's a tool called a Mule Foot that you can see has this really cool effect of just making little stacked scales. Now this is something you do go ahead and case your leather, and then you would just take the tool, and this is how it tools after it's been cased, which is where you take the leather and you kind of hold it under the water until the little bubbles stop. I think I'm going to do a separate video about that. And so that gives you an idea of how deeply it tools on cased leather. And then this is how it looks on leather that isn't cased. And it's a really minor difference, but you really get a lot more depth off of having it be cased. So this is kind of a medium Mule Foot. This one is their small Mule Foot. Kind of show you cased versus not cased on this one. And so, on real simplistic little tools like this, it doesn't make that much of a difference, but I do recommend casing your leather if you have the inclination to do that. And then probably my personal favorite is the large Mule Foot. That's because it has a little bit more texturing and variance. So cased versus not cased. This one really makes a huge difference between whether or not it's been cased. This is cased and not cased. So you can really see you lose the depth, you lose the detail. But if that's what you're going for, then by all means, don't case it first and just do that. Then there is also, this one was a Craft Tool Pro. It looks like that, makes that little shape. And this one, it's, I guess, still technically a Mule Foot. Doesn't really say. It just shows, doesn't have a name, it just makes a shape. But this one, I found is really excellent for doing fish scales and like mermaid style scales. And again, on this one, this is uncased leather. Like it's been sitting dry for a while now. And you can have it come farther back, or you can bring it more up on its tip. Just whichever. And so again, you can really see here cased versus uncased, cased versus uncased. But those are just some different examples of, you know, effects that you can get with just straight up tools. Which these run, if you have like a business membership with Tandy Leather, anywhere from like $6 to $8. I think this one was closer to like $15, but I might have gotten it on clearance. But they're just good, durable tools. I'm gonna tuck those back in their spots so they stop jingling around everywhere. Now we also have some variations here. This is an example of leather tooling that is all three of these sizes incorporated together, kind of giving it a little bit more of a natural variation. Makes it look a little bit more chaotic, but I think it looks pretty nice, and sometimes that's what the client wants. And then we also have right here, you can see we have the large Mule Foot that I went through and used a textured pear shader to come through, and I just lined it up kind of right where this scale would have nestled into a previous one, and then tooled it. And that makes for a really nice texture, especially if you're using like an antique gel or something like that. So these are just a few variations on dragon scale tooling that can be accomplished with one or two tools. So that's pretty neat to be able to go through and kind of, you know, with just a handful of tools, be able to do so many different things. And again, like most things with leatherworking, this is only limited by your creativity and your imagination and the things that you're willing to try. So always save some scrap leather, because you never know how you can be like, well, I'm gonna try this and see how this looks. Always try it on scrap leather before just doing it on your masterpiece or main piece that you're working on, because if it doesn't come out the way that you like, then it's just on scrap leather. But if you're doing it on your final piece and you're experimenting and you're like, oh, didn't work how I thought it would, then you're kind of stuck with it. So, but yeah, I hope that this tutorial was helpful to you guys. If y'all have any questions, comments, or ideas, I'd love to hear from you. What are some of your favorite ways of doing the dragon scale tooling? And here we can kind of see them layered together. Like this one's probably the most common dragon scale tooling that I do, because so many people like the clean, you know, just scale work of it. But this one's probably my favorite, because I really like the way it looks when it's stained and with like some highlight layered on there. It's very nice. But yeah, if y'all enjoy our free tutorials and would like to participate in the creation of more of them, as well as take part in our bi-monthly fairy house giveaways and art giveaways and crafty loot crates that we send out every month. Please check us out on Patreon. There's a lot of traffic today, y'all. But yeah, check us out on Patreon. There's a link down in the video description below. And you can go and pledge as little as $1 a month and kind of get involved in all that. It explains more on the Patreon page. So thank you guys so much. Again, I do hope that this was helpful. And happy crafting, y'all. I'll see you around. Bye.